Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Barbera, autism mom, board certified behavior analyst, and best-selling author. I'm a big proponent of table time, even for toddlers. And most early intervention professionals and even a lot of behavior analysts recommend more natural environment teaching and not table time for very young children with autism. But I have found the quicker we can get a child sitting at the table for pretty long periods of time, the better he will do. Initially, we start out with very short bursts at the table. And really important, we need to bring reinforcers to the table. So we don't just set up the table, we have our reinforcers ready. So a few edibles, a drink, some form of an electronic reinforcer, so either a remote for a TV or an iPad or a computer, and anything else we think the child might like, so we can begin to do a reinforcer assessment and begin pairing the table with huge amounts of reinforcement. If the child loves music, we might bring a boombox to the table too. And if they like certain books, we might bring that book or a pile of books. And the important thing is we control everything at and around the table. We also need to sanitize the environment, or at least the room we are working in. And by sanitizing, I don't mean cleaning or scrubbing things down. What I mean is hiding toys and other preferred items in the room. So the child, if he leaves the table, he's not running over to his favorite toy on the floor. And that way, I'm not working, trying to keep the child at the table while he wants things away from the table and wants to escape. We need to have all the good stuff at the table. And if they want to get away from us and the table, that means we probably don't have the child's strongest reinforcement right there with us. If the room is not sanitized and we don't have really good stuff at the table, then we're going to be fighting an uphill battle. We don't ever want to force a child to sit. We don't want to block their legs, hold them in, or block them into a corner. Kids, especially when they're starting out, can choose to leave the table as much as they want, but we need to make sure that they don't take the materials and reinforcers with them as they leave. If they want to leave the table, that's fine, but the stuff, the reinforcers, the materials, and all the items, we need to keep with us. I'm also not a big fan of let's work for a break, because then the child is working to get away from us and they're working to get away from the table. I don't also like to say 3 more and then you can take a break. I want the child to be running to the table, running to the materials, and most importantly, running to me to learn. If that's not happening and they're working to get away from me, then we don't have the right setup. When you're starting out, like I said, we want to start with short bursts and we want to work our way up, always ending table time before problem behaviors start occurring. So if you're working your way up, and he usually does fine for 15 or 20 minutes, and then starts to have problem behaviors related to being at the table, we want to back it up and give them more natural environment breaks, such as going outside with them or going in the basement with them, changing the room, where you're still working with them, just not at the table. And we want to do that, say, every 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning. Working our way up to, most children do work at the table with me and love being at the table for an hour or more at a sitting. The important thing to note is that break time is still engagement time. This break time is when we use natural environment teaching, and the therapist should still be working on things like manding and imitation and generalization. So in summary, the best way to get kids to like or love the table is, number one, pair the table with high reinforcing items and materials. Number 2, sanitize the rest of the room so that your child wants to be with you at the table with the strongest reinforcers. Number 3, keep table sessions brief, especially in the beginning, and slowly increase the time at the table. And number 4, during breaks, engage the child in preferred activities where you continue to work with him on things like manding, imitation, and generalization. I hope you found this blog helpful, and I'll see you next week.